speech had recently went to be with the Lord. Her favorite passage of Scripture, that I may know Him in the fellowship of His suffering, being made conformable unto His death. To know Him in the fellowship of His suffering. Oh, just to be able to fellowship with Him and to walk with Him. To, as Enoch did, walk with God. He was not, for God took him. We hunger, we thirst for these spiritual, in a spiritual fashion, for these things. Now, these are those evils, that hungering and thirsting, that is from within. Now, let's consider those things that are from without. There is that heat. It says, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. You ever get out in the sun in the middle of the summer, no shade, and the heat bears down on you, and it is almost unbearable. Well, as we've all experienced that physical heat in that fashion. Of course, some of our finest who work down the street here in the fire department, they experience that. They experience heat as they fight fires, go into a burning building. And of course, it wasn't that long ago that two went in and didn't come back out. The floor collapsed under them. But the heat, how are we to understand the heat of life? Well, there's the heat of affliction. You know, some people live in constant pain. They seldom, if ever, know of a moment when they are totally without pain. Sometimes the medication can numb it momentarily. Sometimes, they eventually fall asleep, and in that condition, they're not aware the pain is there, but they're oblivious to it in the slumber of sleep. Pain. A number of years ago, my wife worked with a lady that was a quadriplegic. Many of you knew Emma. And she had pain. I mean, it was painful just to touch her. It was a sympathetic nerve reflex dystrophy, whatever that means. It just meant she had a lot of pain. She was never without pain. They tried epidurals, they tried all sorts of things, and she always was in pain. And sometimes you'd go in and she'd say, why don't you just take a hammer and hit me in the head? Felt like it sometimes. No, but you know, the heat of affliction, pain, the affliction, the heat of affliction. Some experience the heat of poverty. And if you know that poverty can bear down on a person as much as the noonday sun at the equator. And in our current situation in our country, where people have lost their jobs or fearful of losing their jobs, and they're under that affliction of am I going to have a job tomorrow or am I not? And so they lose their job and they go on unemployment for a while, and unemployment isn't what they were making, and so the mortgage gets a little behind because they've got to eat, they've got to feed their family, and so forth, and then first thing you know, the bank is calling them or knocking on the door. You're going to have to move. Now they're experiencing what some would call, we don't know poverty. We don't know true poverty in this country. I understand that. Visiting with a gentleman from Africa yesterday, and he was talking about how things, were in the land where he lived, and he works 2 jobs. He works 16 hours a day. He says, we walked everywhere. We'd have to, anyway, to get anywhere, we had to walk to work. And in many instances, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you walk several miles to catch the bus and ride the bus for 3 or 4 hours to get to the job, work all day for a few dollars, and catch the bus back. And at midnight, you're walking from the bus, those other, back to where you live, and start the whole thing over again in 4 hours. We haven't experienced, but the heat of affliction, whether it is from pain or poverty or bereavement, the loss of a loved one, and it seems like sometimes, the old saying is, it always comes in threes, and it seems like bang, 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 we've lost 3 of either our family or friends or acquaintances or neighbors or whatever it is. You can always find 3 people that you know that. But bereavement, to suffer the pain of being without that person who has been the breadwinner, do without that one who has been the heart of the home, to have to do without those little ones who you're investing your future in. They're gone. There's the heat of ingratitude of a child. You think of the prodigal son in Luke and how that he showed little or no gratitude for his father. He said, Dad, I want what's coming to me. I want my inheritance. I want it now. No gratitude. Away he went. Ingratitude sometimes is hard to deal with. Then there is the matter of the heat of temptation. Temptation that come from the flesh. Sometimes there are the temptations that come from position. People find themselves perhaps in a position of power, and they take advantage of that. And they take advantage of those who are around them, take advantage of those who are under them. You see that quite often in the political realm, with presidents and interns and so forth. There's the temptations of circumstances. Thinking that the means, or the end justifies the means. I'm hungry, so it's all right for me to steal. Someone said something I didn't like, so it's all right for me to beat them up. Someone has done whatever, stole, so it's all right to shoot them. No, it's not. Circumstance. And of course, the old Flip Wilson saying, the devil made me do it. He is the tempter. Then there's the heat of persecution. We know little of that today. There's the heat of care. Taking care of those who are in need. Sometimes it gets difficult. Sometimes it gets to the point where we find that the care they need is beyond our ability to provide it. We have to often deal with guilt feelings that